Lights up!
It's lovely to have the cast of The Children, which is our final studio production of our autumn-winter 2023-24 season. We have Paul and Mel and Frances. Now, Frances, you will know, who is a veteran director at PTC, but this time in the studio playing Hazel.
Indeed.
Now, just give us a quick synopsis of who Hazel is and how she fits into the plot of The Children.
Very quickly, Hazel lives in a cottage by the sea with her husband, Robin. They live there because there has been an explosion at the local nuclear power station at which they both used to work. And there was a meltdown at the power station. And it has caused all sorts of terrible repercussions on the land and on their own house. And hence they're now in a cottage.
So they're living there in kind of splendid isolation.
Yes.
And Paul, you play Robin, Hazel's husband. Now, Paul, you were last seen at Putney at the Tribes doing another studio production.
Yes,
just
indeed.
before COVID. So welcome back. We obviously didn't scare you off.
Thank you.
So thank you for returning. Now do tell us, Robin, what's his relationship with Hazel?
Robin is married to Hazel, and they are both colleagues. They both worked at the aforementioned nuclear power station. They were responsible for designing it. So although Children is the name of the piece, there's no children actually on stage.
So they're alluded to, are they?
They're alluded to, and maybe we are behaving like children at certain points in the play.
Aha. Now, how many? You have 4 children.
We have 4 children.
Do we think it's a happy family scenario? I'm sensing it's probably not if you're living in splendid isolation and that it's a husband and wife who've worked together. And
Robin spends a lot of time out of the house tending to his cows, which is...
So it's the Archers meets Sizewell, is it?
Kind of. Yeah. There's green wellies and white wellies.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so we have a child who is well into adulthood but is still very needy.
Right. So we the play opens and we have Robin and Hazel, and this nuclear fallout has recently happened.
Actually, we don't have Robin and Hazel. Robin doesn't arrive until about a third of the way through the play.
Lucky Robin.
I was going to say, lucky Robin for your line learning, my friend. As a three-hander.
Absolutely.
So the play opens and Mel, who plays Rose, is actually standing on the stage on her own, and very quickly is joined by Hazel.
Now, Rose, hello Mel, welcome to Putney.
Hello, thank
I know this is
you.
your first time here, so we're delighted to have you here. Now, you play the character of Rose, who also worked with Robin and Hazel back in the day,
That's
and
right.
you're back, without giving too much of the plot away.
I know.
So
I
are
know,
you
I
the
don't want to
third
spoil
wheel?
it. I guess you could call me the third wheel. We do kind of establish very quickly that they work together and they do know each other. And I think it's fine to say that there's been a very big gap. And there is definitely a large question mark about why has Rose appeared.
And do we find out?
And you might find out. But I think that would be a real shame if I told you.
No, you mustn't. So she sets the cat among the pigeons is what I'm
I
thinking.
would say
Yeah.
that's
Yes?
what she
That's
definitely
exactly
does. That's a
right.
great...
Yes.
So what are the major themes of the play?
Well,
So Paul,
trust.
Trust, okay, yes.
Yeah, let's all have one word.
Yeah.
Trust.
You'll go for trust.
legacy.
Legacy. Now, expand on legacy.
It's the kind of what we feel is our responsibility to the next generation.
Right. So you have the 4 children, and I go, that's your legacy in...
Yes, in terms of there is this nuclear, fallout and radiation spill.
I'm assuming it's not quite as seismic as something like Chernobyl.
There's a wave and there's contamination, and there is definitely... I carry a Geiger counter around, for instance.
Okay.
And Hazel's not so happy with me because I tend to wander into the exclusion zone.
And why do you do that? Just out of sheer curiosity, or because you don't like being told what to do?
I think to get out of the house and also to look after...
Get away from me.
To look after the animals.
Right. Do you find your solace in animal husbandry?
It might well be, yeah. He's a funny kind of character because he's superficially very ebullient and life and soul, but
Do we think that extrovert behaviour is masking his
very possibly.
inner guilt? Are we thinking? I'm trying to tease this out of you, but
Guilt.
without trying to give too much away of the plot. But I'm thinking,
I think he's probably got too much time in his hands to reflect on his life as it is now, and I think he probably was happier when he was active, busy. Now he's retired, and the farming thing is winding down because of this outage, and living. It's kind of like a lockdown situation. There's not much power available, electricity, so I think he's ruminating too much on his own lot and what might have been.
right, of course, because if he's into retirement age, he's probably thinking of what
Next?
what could
And
have
what
been.
next, and what could have been, and what's to come.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. A lot of, we're not old, we've got time on our hands now to do what we want to do. We should be doing this. How do we actually spend the last few years of our lives? We're all in our 60s, apparently.
Which is young, my
It's
friends,
young.
obviously.
Absolutely.
So it's quite reflective about the past and maybe the mistakes that we all make, and how that's projected onto maybe future generations.
Yeah.
And this
Ooh,
is where
yes.
trust comes in.
Yes.
So, Frances, tell us about you chose the word trust as one of the major themes.
Yes. The relationship between Robin and Hazel is essentially one of trust. On the face of it, she trusts him. On the face of it, he trusts her. The Rose element is a very interesting addition to the trust triangle, let's say.
Yes.
But it's also a bigger thing about if you build a nuclear power station, the three of them were engaged in building it. They didn't design it, but they were actually engaged in the whole putting it together for the future generations to be able to trust the electricity source. And that clearly went wrong, and there's a lot of that kind of thing about whether if you do something, should it be relied upon.
And also, I guess there's always an element of guilt when that doesn't
Lots of guilt.
go
Yes.
to plan. But also, it's also your part in that whole process. Does that alleviate the guilt, or does
It may do for some people and it may not for others.
I love the evasiveness. It's marvellous, my friends. Now, Mel, stroke Rose, what's your word for one of the major themes?
There are so many wonderful words you could be using with the way this play evolves, but so I'm sort of torn a bit between atonement and loyalty, but I think I'm going to go with loyalty. This catastrophic thing has happened, and we understand that very early on in the play, and it's what these three characters feel towards what's happened, and also what they're considering about their own futures, but also their loyalty to the place that they, as Frances says, they've sort of created.
Exactly.
They were at
they've
the
all had a
beginning of
part.
this,
Yeah.
and they've kind of walked away. And two of them are sort of dealing with this, but Rose has had nothing to do with it because she's come back in for her reasons, but she hasn't been living in the area where this crisis has been. But it's who's got more loyalty to what should be done about it.
So she's come back because of the crisis.
I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, I know. I love the close
I'm
shot.
sorry.
So we are. It all sounds quite intriguing, quite intense.
Oh, it is. It's a
very
really quite
intense.
dark
Yes.
play. It's quite dark. It's intense. I think it's one of those plays, I hope, where the audience will walk out the door and really want to talk about it. It's like, could that? What if? Why? How would you feel? What if that had been you, been in that, etc.? It's a really, she's a really brilliant writer, Lucy Kirkwood.
She is. We do quite a few, or we have done quite a few of her plays here because they're so brilliantly written. And I think also, I'm sure you're realising this in the studio, I know that it's such a brilliant space to be doing something that the audience, it's so tangible, that experience when you're there as an audience member, and that you really feel that you're living the experience of the actors on stage. And it's very, very different than doing something in the main auditorium.
Yeah, I think it
Yes.
was a brilliant choice of the directors, Carrie, to choose this smaller space because it needs it, and it's going to feel very.
Yes,
also, the
absolutely.
play is set in real time,
Oh,
so
is
that
it?
there's that real
Brilliant.
sense of, oh my god, the time's ticking. What's happening? What's going
Yeah.
to
So
It
happen
heightens the
here?
emergency.
Yeah, I
Yeah, and
think
there is an
so.
emergency because something has happened at the plant in order for them to be. There's a heightened responsibility to sort out whatever it is.
I think what I also really love about this play is we are still talking as the three actors about the characters and how we relate to each other, and does she think that, and do you think did he know this, Are you sure? And that's, we're quite far into the rehearsals, obviously, and we're still intrigued by
That's true.
the
Well,
way
that's
it's
good
written.
writing, isn't
It
it?
is.
That I would say
Yeah.
good. So the rehearsal process, obviously, I'm assuming has been quite intense because of that. So there's a lot of back information for you to develop, to talk about the relationships between the three of you, how they all fit together. How's that
Very
process
much.
been?
It's been really interesting. We've had a lot of discussion about, do you think Hazel knows this fact about Robin, and potentially, what is the effect that if she knew it now, or does she know it 30 years ago, and has it been eating away at her for 30 years? And there's a lot of stuff written into the play which the audience need to kind of pick up on, but it's not a big obvious thing to pick up on. So we have, and it being in the studio means that you can show it. Your facial expression can actually show the audience that there's something deeply wrong or deeply unsettling, but nothing is ever said. So it's very fascinating. And then we can actually play that one way or the other way, or it could be a laugh, but it sometimes isn't a laugh, and it's very interesting.
But it is funny, I should say, because we've made
It
it
is
sound
funny.
quite intense and quite heavy. It is, but it's very amusing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some lovely bits.
Anything else to tell me about the rehearsals apart from doing a lot of workshopping? And now, Frances, you're a huge fan of Meisner.
I
Have
am.
have you been doing? Have you been introducing the Meisner techniques into the rehearsal period?
Actually, we have not. What we have done is investigate the storyline in great depth. It's been very interesting to question motivation or to question why something happens. That's really where we've been going. The characters are very well defined in the script already. So there isn't a lot of necessary Meisner work in order to kind of flesh them out. They're very clear, it's very obvious who these people are and what they represent and how they will act in certain situations.
Fantastic.
Frances has been very good coaching us with her past history. I've just learned about. In our dance, there's a certain amount of. Can I give this away? We do a little
There's
bit
a
of crazy
dance,
dancing.
indeed.
Yeah, and it takes us back as a time warp to our
Youth.
hedonistic 20s. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Do we get dancing on stage?
We
Yeah.
might.
Oh, is it? Please tell me it's drunken dancing
We
on
might.
stage.
It is,
Oh, it
very
is
much.
drunken dancing.
Even better. Oh, we've all had snapshots of that, haven't we?
Dad dances. That's right.
So I understand that Jeff Saunders has come in and been in the role as dramaturg, which he did on Apologia. How's that been? Mel?
Oh, I think it's been really lovely to have time with Carrie and then Jeff coming in a little bit later, and just sort of seeing it from a different angle has been really helpful to us. And just a few little suggestions, or it's a bit of that kind of moment of, oh, maybe that's a point. I hadn't really thought about that.
And how do you find that as a director yourself, Frances? Because I think when you're an actor-director, you see things from that side anyway. You see what the audience sees. I think if you're purely an actor, you tend to see it from, obviously, your point. But I think when it's a director-actor, they can actually transpose themselves to the audience point of view. So how have you found that yourself, having somebody come in with that sort of bird's eye view, isn't it really, which a dramaturg does?
Yeah, he's been incredibly useful. He came in and we did some really, really excellent exercises, doing a section of the script as 5-year-olds, for instance,
Right.
and a section of the script in different accents. And it was really an exercise to help us learn that particular section of script and be able to pick up cues more quickly and know exactly where we were on it. And that was very, very useful. But yes, he also had other views about how something might be said, or whether our perspective that we're seeing it from could be seen from a different perspective.
So Paul, returning to PTC for the children, and Carrie Cable is the director, who's also the chair of trustees. So how's your experience been?
Yes, it's great. And also, I don't know if it's me, but I just noticed the buzz. Anyway, so yeah, and working with Carrie is great. She's very diligent, keeps us on our lines, and we are... she's absolutely right, because I think once the lines are in your bones, then you can really let go and find the emotion and all the rest of it. Because it's quite pithy writing, and yet a lot happens in a few sentences. So
And you don't want to lose those,
you don't want
do
to lose
you?
the essence, and if you kind of paraphrase it and add padding, it loses that punch. And there's quite a bit where two people speaking at the same time, it gets quite heated and then it dissipates. But so there's a lot of rhythm in it, a lot of moods in it, and so we are.
And there's a reason behind sort of brevity in that writing. And you're right, if you suddenly start elongating sentences because you're thinking, this is vaguely the essence. It is a bugbear, isn't it, Frances?
Yes, indeed it is.
Bugbear of mine as well. They were written for a purpose. At least have the good grace to learn them how the author wrote them. Yes, or the playwright in this case.
And there's a definite meter, and I think when you that's what trips me. I say it and I think.
But you also know when it's not right, when it's been written so brilliantly. You can go, hold on a minute, because no offence, I don't think we are in the same league as Lucy Kirkwood in writing. So
I mean, indeed, the punctuation is very specific, isn't it? Yeah, and she's very. You must take a red pen and eliminate all the slight borderline unnecessary words because it is pared down.
That sits there and gets the red pen out.
I think she's absolutely brilliant at using those lines to make you understand the characters.
Right.
Yes.
She's so good at that.
Yeah.
Because we are three very, very different personalities, and that really comes through in her writing.
That's true, because Rose's sentences are very succinct.
Yeah, I say some
very,
quite extraordinary sentences that
and
I
very
wouldn't say myself.
Clear,
but
whereas Hazel spends she could spend a whole sentence saying yes, but and also and Rose, but also and does,
because they're there for a reason, and if you get them wrong, it interrupts the rhythm of the writing, and also because you have to say it in a way that it's just as if you're saying it for the first time as well. So
that's the art.
I do have one last question actually. So do we think the three of you would be friends if you hadn't worked together? Or had those relationships if you hadn't... Because Robin and Hazel, do you meet at work?
Yes.
Yeah. Rose was a colleague, and although you've been absent.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, I don't think we can tell you the answer.
I don't think we can. I think you're getting...
All I can say...
Don't get close to a spoiler alert.
You're getting absolutely to the core of things, so we're not going to answer.
Well, that's an interesting question, because when people pop up after a long time, then you reevaluate your friendship and...
Yeah, why
sometimes
weren't you?
it just reaffirms it. You're still friends. That's been a big interlude. Other times you go, why were we friends?
Exactly.
So,
and we all have those, don't we? We haven't seen someone for 30 years.
Yeah.
And then you can literally slip back into the conversation you had then. And others, you go, and you're right, you go, wow. Well, it all sounds incredibly intriguing. I can't wait to come and see it. So just to recap, 20th to the 24th, including the matinee on the Saturday the 24th. So there's 6 opportunities. Tickets are selling fast and furious, and I know I always say this and people don't believe me, but they really do. Our studio productions do sell out, so please do go to www.putneyartstheatre.org.uk and to what's on, and the children will be there, and buy your tickets.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This is a real Putney Theatre Company production. Do share the podcast with your friends and take a look at our website, searching online for the Putney Theatre Company. So that's it for now. See you next time.